Thank you and good morning to everyone. This presentation is about psychosocial perspective on natural hazards. I would like to show you a photo that shows the losses and damages that were experienced by residents of Tacloban City from Typhoon Yolanda, also known as Typhoon Haiyan, which hit the Philippines in 2013. And we can see here the extent of these losses and damages, but also I would like to show how overwhelming these losses and damages were, that they caused severe stress and trauma as psychological effects. In dealing with trauma and depression, many psychologists use a proven approach to help individuals understand their own behaviors by reflecting on how they think and perceive events in their life. The goal of this psychological approach is to allow them to change their thinking patterns with more effective ways of coping. Such an approach may also be applied to understand how people think about disaster risks so that they can make safer decisions. Experts in the natural and physical sciences conduct objective risk assessments which deal with the what, why, where, and when of hazards. Psychologists have also developed subjective risk assessments that focus on who are perceiving such hazard risks. No? If we combine objective and subjective risk assessments, we can create more effective formulations for disaster risk reduction strategies. In psychology, there are two risk dimensions that have been identified. Perceived risks, which are judgments of characters of risk of a particular object, event, or behavior, and they can be in terms of probability, severity, and or susceptibility. These are derived from the physical and social environment that produce certain cues regarding hazards. The second dimension is acceptable risk, which is derived from personal attributes, specifically personality traits such as risk-taking tendencies, knowledge about hazards, and certain momentary goals or intentions that will last either for a limited time or for more extensive periods. Research indicates that both perceived risk and acceptable risk are important influences on whether a person will behave in a risky or cautious manner. However, research also shows that high levels of perceived risk do not result in more cautious behaviors if the acceptable risk is higher. To give an example, along the coast of Laguna Lake in Luzon, there are many resident families who have livelihoods that are connected to the lake. The lake is considered as filled with natural resources. Despite the fact that Laguna is prone to typhoons, landslides, and flooding, residents continue to reside in these coastal communities because of high acceptable risk. What does this mean? It merely shows that risk is very personal, highly nuanced, and dependent on our unique circumstances that lead to different perceptions and motives to behave safely. In conclusion, the psychosocial perspective recognizes that people make their own risk assessments, and these involve cognitions as well as emotions that may not align with current safety protocols. In light of this, we suggest that experts in other fields of science benefit by being sensitive to people's conceptions of risks and their emotional process of deciding between multiple risks. The goal of a multidisciplinary approach in disaster risk reduction is to develop more hazard resilient communities. By following actions of a pool of experts and our policymakers, to interact more with the public, to better predict what their responses will be, to create incentivized warning systems with statements of support for adopting safer choices, And lastly, to educate communities on hazard exposure and vulnerability risks at the level of these communities using scenario-based planning. Thank you very much.